And we are live. Good Friday afternoon, friends. Rusty back with you here for CFLW, the show for this Friday, August the 8th. I hope you're doing well. I actually was expected to be on a couple of minutes ago. I had hit the start stream button and had, gotten ready and was like, all right, let's do this. And I realized that it hadn't started running yet. And then it reminded me that when I go live, compared to when I schedule a stream, it's a slightly different process behind the scenes with YouTube. And so because I was live last night, I had to reset something for this scheduled stream. But it's great to see you guys for CFLW, the show. Again, if you are new to the channel or new to watching these two shows I do during a week, this is intended for you guys to get an idea of what I'm expecting for the weather ahead for the next few days. This Friday show, we'll talk about Friday's forecast and the weekend and anything that I see of any note that we need to talk about for the week ahead. And then the Monday 1 o'clock show talks about the work week. But again, this is to prepare you guys for the potential for some impactful weather when that might happen, to get everyone together, just have a great discussion and a conversation here. And again, whether you're watching this in the live version at this Friday 1 o'clock hour, which I really do appreciate those who drop in live, or you're watching this recorded, because it does become a recorded video under the live tab of CFLW, and you can watch over the next couple of days and you'll still get a lot of beneficial information with it. So let's get started. CFLW is sponsored by the leading law firm of Central Florida. They're your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They cover the entire state of Florida, and when a storm rolls across the area, you get damage of any kind, wind, hail, hurricane, even a burst pipe. They walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. Free consultation and policy reviews. You got nothing to lose. Check out leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. All right. Obviously, I was on yesterday early evening covering the storms along our west coast, which got rowdy. We had some 40+ mile-an-hour wind gusts and some heavy rain, but man, did these storms pop right back up late yesterday evening and overnight. Again, they weren't severe, but they were prolific rainmakers and absolutely noisy. I mean, my house got lit up around 2 a.m. last night. I mean, it was coming down. It was noisy. Our youngest son was in the bed before you knew it. It woke everyone up in the house. These were rowdy thunderstorms that developed in interior sections of Central Florida yesterday evening. So you get the idea of the kind of weather that we're going to get over the next couple days, because again, our frontal boundary, which is allowing these sea breeze enhancements to develop, is still draped right over Central Florida. And we're going to continue to see thunderstorms developing. Now, because we've had overcast skies, because we've already had some rain, we are beginning to knock down our temperatures just a little bit here. I'm just letting the last 6 hours loop up to show you, again, how active we've already had. Thunderstorms are holding offshore right now along the west coast, but we've had some heavier rain already developing along eastern areas and beginning to kind of spiral in. Again, the east coast sea breeze, just like it did yesterday, will march across the entire state the remainder of the afternoon hours, allowing thunderstorms to congregate along the west coast. And then because everything's kind of opened up from the coastal Atlantic, additional showers and storms will redevelop along the east coast and inland across the I-4 corridor as we get late this evening and especially overnight. And again, although those won't be severe, they could have impacts. There could be some localized flooding to go along with everything else. Let's drop into the chat real quick. I want to say hi to everyone before we get more into the forecast. Hey, Chessie, how you doing? Spring Hill in the house at 95 degrees. West Coast will be hotter today. A little bit more filtered sunshine, if anything else. Lower opportunity for rain until late today. So it's going to be steamy there. 95 with a dew point in the upper 70s. Hey, Cole, how you doing? Hi, Fiona. Great to see you again. Thanks for tuning in, being a part of our moderator. Farah as well. Happy Friday to you. Hey, Knuckles Edit, good to see you. Hi, Amy, how are you? Linda is in the house for today. Great to see you. Hey, Kyle, how you doing, man? Hope things are well. Hey, Kish, happy Friday to you as well. Hey, Jaden, how you doing? Jaden, a friend of the channel over at Media Mundo, who lives in Aruba, but likes to jump in and join our chat over here as well. I think Jaden just misses me. I have not had an opportunity outside of jumping on for the June 1st scheduled live stream at Media Mundo to be live like this with my friends in the Caribbean and the Bahamas. Look, I don't mind it. All has been quiet so far. That's what we want to see. I mean, if I got to cover something, I'll cover it. I don't wish cast anything, but I haven't had the opportunity to reconnect with my Caribbean and Bahamian friends like I have with you guys kind of on a daily basis here for a while. Hey, Blue Goose, how you doing? St. Augustine in the house, 88 degrees, 70% humidity. And by the way, Farah, I appreciate the mention of how the PayPal and Venmo links were broken. You're right. So in addition to two different ways that YouTube does a scheduled live stream and just a live stream, like when I click on I gotta go live, for some reason in this scheduled live stream, the links were just fine. But in the live version, the links didn't fully get sent over properly, so I updated that last night. So thanks for letting me know that. I appreciate that. Hi Diane, how you doing? Kissimmee is in the house. Appreciate you guys. So again, this is the satellite loop composite radar over the last 6 hours. This is a live look to the radar right now out of the Tampa Bay area. The Melbourne radar has been on and off all day long. We'll keep an eye out for that. But again, you're getting scattered showers already developing right now. At this point in time, over the next couple of hours, not expecting these to become severe. If you remember, yesterday, and what I mean by that is just go back to what we had yesterday in your area. It's going to be a fair rinse and repeat. The mechanisms in the atmosphere are very much similar. So the East Coast sea breeze is marching on shore right now. Showers are developing across the East Coast and inland. They're scattered. There's some good downpours. There's a couple of lightning strikes, but nothing is very organized. So, you got some rain in interior Flagler County through Putnam County, portions of Marion County, northern side of Lake County up towards the Pearson area. Scattered rain developing right now in the eastern sides of Orange County and even heading towards the metro Orlando. Really spotty rain. Let me see if fortunately, kind of all day, all morning long, as I've been preparing this show, the Melbourne radar has been somewhat on the fritz here. Yeah, see that red dot? It's still out, unfortunately. It is what it is, but it could come back online at any point in time. But anyway, that's why I'm using the Tampa radar at this point in time. Still covers the area, but you can clearly see that the most active or most widespread rain is, developing in those areas, and everything's working off towards the west. So if you live in our central and eastern areas, through the remainder of the afternoon hours, you are in store for some passing tropical downpours and an isolated rumble of thunder. Now, just like yesterday afternoon, the storms are going to try and get pinned along the west coast, because that's where the west coast sea breeze is right now. If I bring on your surface winds, let me take this and spread it out a little bit wider here. The general flow is still going to be east to west, but it slows down a lot along the west coast, and these storms will slow a bit. And I could even expect, as we get, again, typically late in the day, we start to get the onshore breeze coming back inland, and that should again pin some storms. So we could still see the opportunity for an isolated, strong, maybe severe storm today. It's not a high risk, right? Really, overall, the next few days for your weekend ahead, the big story is going to be just the amount of rain that's in the forecast, right? So it's going to impact plans. It's not going to be a fantastic weekend because the rain, just like we've had, is going to get started early in the day in some areas and will persist into the afternoon and the evening and even redevelop overnight in a couple of spots. It's an extremely wet forecast, which of course will lead to the opportunity for some flooding. And overall, we could get 1 to 3 or 2 to 4 inches of rain and locally higher in some areas through the weekend, and that's going to lead to some flooding issues that we'll talk about here in a second. But it's an active forecast. May not be the highest in severe weather threat kind of forecast, but again, impacts for the weekend, absolutely. Let's take a look at our cameras. We'll start off with a live look to Conway. This is in the east side of Orange County. We're looking back off towards the east. It's southeast of downtown Orlando, and you can see some of the rain moving in. Very scattered in nature, low base clouds, passing showers in the forecast. And again, this is looking east, so this is looking from where the rain is going to be moving into. Outside of that, do you notice how the air is basically still? There's hardly a breath of wind outside of where we're having some of those showers develop. And even then, the winds right now aren't strong at all, but the steering currents are absolutely non-existent. So again, slow movement of the storms. Once they get to the west coast, kind of slowing down a bit. If anything, again, the east coast sea breeze is trying to push some of these showers through. But, it's a steamy afternoon, regardless of the overcast skies, because we've trapped in all the low-level humidity, and you get a passing shower this time of the afternoon, so it's still kind of rough outside as far as that goes into the afternoon hours. Here's the Disney area. Again, we're 1 mile from the Magic Kingdom from this camera. We're looking back to the south. The Disney property is just beyond this tree line, basically. So Magic Kingdom, Epcot area, of course, Universal Eye Drive, kind of all within this shot. Again, just relatively overcast conditions, a couple of passing showers. Could be a rumble of thunder. I'm not overtly concerned about the attractions forecast through the afternoon hours here, but we'll take a look at the 3-day forecast where, again, expecting there to be more impactful weather. Speaking of that, I do want to kind of break down what I expect. We're going to try and keep this live stream to kind of a tight 30. I always say that, but it's going to be more like probably 35, but we started at 105 anyway, because again, I thought I was streaming and I wasn't. But I want to break down what kind of the overview of Central Florida is going to be like for this afternoon through the weekend. So it looks like this. Heavy rain and flooding is going to be the most widespread issue, right? We could get some spots with 2 to 4 inches of rain and even locally higher amounts. Now, it's a total through Sunday, but there will be some areas that could pick that up in one afternoon or evening, right? I mean, some of these storms aren't moving, especially the overnight activity is really robust. And I mean, we got hammered where I live yesterday in the Orlando metro area. And I mean, it easily was 2 to 3 inches of rain late last night. So this could lead to poor drainage areas, flooding, and low-lying areas as well. Hopefully nothing more than that. You could get some urban and street flooding and some small stream flooding in some areas. But I'm hoping that, you know, we're not going to get the persistent rains enough in areas where it's anything more than that. But don't be shocked if your area falls under a flood advisory from time to time, and hopefully not a flash flood warning. Flood advisory saying, hey, look, there's been heavy rain. There's at least the opportunity for some flooding of this variety coming up here in the next couple of hours. Flash flood warning means there is ongoing flooding issues that you need to really pay attention to. So storm chances look like this. Our best chance for strong to severe storms are going to be along the west coast. The east coast sea breeze will still dominate, push inland, pin along the west coast, and that's where the storms will slow down and get a little bit stronger, just like yesterday. Hopefully nothing organized, but again, when you have all of the outflow boundaries from the last couple of days of storms, you've got all different ways that these storms can fire up. You have that trough that's right over us, so there's a lot of lift in the atmosphere. Things are relatively unstable when I'm looking at kind of the category of the instability in the atmosphere and what we call the lapse rates. It means how quickly does the atmosphere cool off from the surface to the mid and upper levels. The steeper the lapse rate, the colder the temperature gets quicker, and that will allow thunderstorm development to go higher and stronger. And those lapse rates are decent for this time of the year. So, you know, we could pile up a couple of stronger storms along the west coast. I'll be monitoring that, and still some overnight storms inland and along the east coast because everything's opened up out of the east. So showers and some heavier rain and storms could develop along I-95 and redevelop across I-4 as well. You get the idea. There's a lot ongoing here for the weekend ahead. Let me jump back into the chat, make sure I check in with everyone. Hey, Tornado Central, how you doing? Good to see you. What kind of conditions need for a microburst to occur? Conway Cam has the tropical feel. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, a microburst is kind of mid-level winds to kind of the upper part of the low level of the atmosphere pushing down, you know, and producing winds that come down right in one area and then fan out in a 360-degree direction. In this environment, we could get what we call a wet microburst, right? Because these are really high precipitation, moisture-laden storms, and it's a wet sponge above us. So you wouldn't get the dry microburst would they kind of get in the plains. And we can get here sometimes as well, depending on the cold front setup. But in this summer season, the wet season for Central Florida, we would get microburst winds. And because of the instability and the lapse rates I just talked about, we are under an environment that's possible, right? It's a low chance, but it's not zero. Generally more, it would be straight line winds, right, as these storms develop. Or, and again, tornado threat's the same situation for today. It's very low, but it's also not zero. All right. I'm trying to talk and work behind the scenes at the same time. Now I'm hitting all the wrong buttons. It's low, but it's not zero, right? I'm not overtly concerned about our severe threat for today, whether that's going to be winds, whether it's going to be hail, whether it's going to be an isolated tornado risk, but none of that is at the zero criteria for today. It's a monitor, wait and see situation. Now, the risk of excessive rainfall for today, again, is present, right? This graphic is showing that there's a 5 to 10% chance that these areas would run underneath the opportunity to exceed flash flood criteria. It's a very low end chance, but when we pile up some of this rain, you know, that ends up being an opportunity. I don't think we've had any local storm reports lately, even out of some of the activity that we've had over the last 6 hours. I don't see that. Let me double check one thing here real quickly. Again, when we look at advisories, it takes a while for my system to pop up. The only thing we have in place right now is a rip current statement along the East Coast. We're churning things up. Obviously, if for some reason you want to get out and try and get into the water at the beach, please be very cautious as far as that goes. All right, so the next thing I want to do is let's break down the models. take a look at the short term, talk a little bit about the next week ahead, a quick mention of the tropics as well. But obviously, if I'm not leading with the tropics, then you know that there is nothing in the short term that I'm concerned about for us here in Central Florida. So let me bring up our HER bottle, high resolution rapid refresh. We'll kick it off this afternoon. And again, this updates hourly. It only goes out 48 hours, but it's a very high resolution, succinct mesoscale model. It's great for this kind of storm development in the afternoon. Got my Publix diet green tea. Listen, talk a lot this time of the year. Got to take these water breaks or diet green tea breaks. That doesn't look great. Not fantastic. And you're talking to someone who we've invited some friends over for a party tomorrow to enjoy the last weekend of summer. I don't like this. It's not great as far as any outdoor plans, that's for sure. There's a lot of green and red on this map. So let's break it down for you. Again, with this trough sitting over us, we're just going to continue to see things very activated. This is the HER model, 2 o'clock today, so 40 minutes from now. I think it has a pretty good initial condition. You saw some of the rain that it's picked up here. Certainly would expect a couple of showers and isolated thunderstorm to get to I-75. So initial conditions from the model absolutely look fantastic. And you will just see the deeper into this afternoon that we go, right? Still the opportunity for some scattered showers for places like Sanford and Orlando and Merritt Island and Melbourne and Daytona Beach through the late afternoon hours. As we get towards 6 o'clock, we start to congregate some of these storms back into the areas that had the stronger activity yesterday. Again, as they get to the West Coast, the old outflow boundaries from yesterday, the West and the East Coast sea breezes coming together. This is where you could have some stronger activity. And again, it slows down as it's pinned. So Pinellas, in Hillsborough, Manatee, Sarasota, Pasco, Hernando, Citrus, maybe portions of Sumter and Polk counties could be involved in, again, stronger storms. Now, the HER model pushes some of this activity back over towards I-4. We'll see how it plays out. That would be a big push back off to the east, unlike what we saw yesterday. It wasn't until after midnight that storms, with just this moisture in atmosphere and just enough instability as we cooled down a bit, kicked back off. So I'm much more confident in the storms developing on I-75 to US 19 this afternoon, 301, 441, places like that. If you live anywhere there in the counties that I just mentioned, we'll see. Again, this HER model runs every hour. Every solution is slightly different. It wasn't as far east as it was now this morning, but I can't rule out storms back building into Orlando as we get towards the sunset hour. It's a possibility at least. Again, it's an extremely wet sponge atmosphere here with good instability, so nothing is off the table. Now again, the HER model is quiet overnight. I don't know if I fully buy that as well. There's an opportunity that storms could redevelop in interior locations and produce some locally heavy rain. But by the early morning hours tomorrow, we're already going to get some activity along the coast, potentially along the West Coast from St. Pete back down towards Sarasota, Bradenton, all the way down towards Port Charlotte and the Fort Myers area, Venice, places like that. But again, not moving much inland, right? The West Coast sea breeze is not trying to get inland. It's the East Coast sea breeze that will develop along the coast and work its way in. But regardless, winds Saturday are going to be out of the south. And by the time you get into the early to mid-afternoon hours, the peninsula should be relatively covered up with showers and storms. Nothing crazy organized, but just a huge slug of moisture in play to produce heavy rainfall and widespread activity. Friends, the lowest rain chance I have tomorrow is 70%, and most areas are going to be 80 or 90 for both Saturday and Sunday. Not great. Hey, Larry, how you doing? Hey, Sean, good to see you. Hey, Joshua, how are you doing, man? North Miami in the house. Awesome. It could absolutely be loud tonight, Linda. There's no doubt about it, right? Tornado risk, low but not zero. Right? When you have these old outflow boundaries that are set up across the state, our sea breeze interaction and the instability that I talked about, again, you can get some squirrely winds produced. We've had a couple of reports of funnel clouds the last few days. We had the tornado warning. I want to say it was Monday evening, just south and east of the Orlando airport. So we have had one tornado warning. It was radar indicated, and I've monitored as these storms have collided, that opportunity. You can clearly see, by the way, that the HRRR model does have a mid-level spin along this trough line. So you will get some inherent rotation here. Now, whether that produces anything low level, it's something to monitor, but there is a broader spin. Again, all of this activity is just kind of rotating around this whole area here, which just keeps it exceptionally wet. And there's south winds pulling back in too. So it's just extremely moisture laden air. Again, it's just ridiculous. I mean, central Bahamas, northwest Bahamas, all the peninsula of Florida, Jacksonville towards Miami. Generally speaking, it's central and the southern areas that will probably be the wettest. I-10 will be a little bit drier, but it's an extremely, wet sponge weekend. I don't know how many different ways I can say it, but just get prepared for a lot of tropical downpours, some embedded thunderstorms, locally heavy rainfall, and the opportunity, especially along the West Coast, to crop up a strong to severe storm. You guys know I'll be monitoring that situation for you as well as we go through the weekend. Again, back out to the live radar just to keep an eye out for that, and then we'll get into some of your forecasts as well. As always, you guys have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. Happy to answer that. We've got 8 lightning strikes. It looks like the little bit of an impulse here. It's going to be in southern and southeast Marion County, across the National Forest, but moving west towards Bellevue. So if you live in Bellevue, Ocala, back over towards like Wearsdale, areas like that, maybe even the Villages and Lady Lake, the opportunity to, again, get a fast moving shower with some embedded thunderstorms. That's not going to line up and even produce a special weather statement, I would imagine. I don't expect that to happen. And again, these are temperatures, just checking out wind gusts, throw that on as well. It's a fresh breeze along the East Coast outside of even having some rain. Places like Ormond Beach and Daytona, 20+ mile-an-hour winds towards Edgewater. Same situation here. Nice little 10 to 15 mile-an-hour breeze, but gusts have been over 20. Nothing else has been outrageous, but it's just, as we go through this live stream, you're just going to see more and more little dots begin to percolate up, guys. That's just kind of the environment that we're in. So I want to break down the forecast, and then we'll take a look at a couple of the other models, and then answer any of your questions. So here's what it looks like. Again, heavy rain and flooding, storms, best chance for severe or strong along the West Coast. Hopefully we don't crop up to that 60 mile-an-hour wind threshold, but we could get some special weather statements, and again, overnight storms redeveloping inland and along the East Coast. So for the attractions area, for the weekend ahead, and this would include this evening as well, but we'll start for tomorrow. There's not much of a change. Sometimes I can get very granular with these forecasts. Sometimes it's just, look, it is what it is. We don't need to, pick it over with a fine-tooth comb. It's going to be wet. It's going to be stormy. Some of this activity, as you saw, will develop in the morning hours. It'll be more prolific in the afternoon and evening, but there could even be some overnight activity to move across interior sections like Lake Buena Vista. It is an 80% chance for heavy rain and storms each and every day. Daytime highs, again, with it not being a persistent all-day rain, should be able to nudge into the lower 90s. Morning lows, mid and upper 70s. We've capped the heat a bit, right? We're not going to see 95, 96 because of the grayer skies across the area. There'll be some filtered sunshine here or there, but still feels like temperatures will be in the upper 90s to right around 100 with just all of that low-level humidity still trapped in. Not much better for Clearwater Beach. Again, we can get granular sometimes, but the forecast is just going to call for heavy rain and storms along the West Coast as well. Now, we'll favor stronger storms in the afternoon hours for places like Clearwater Beach. Slightly drier to kick off the day, but there could still be a few lingering showers right along the immediate coast as well. And it's an 80% chance each and every day through at least Monday. We'll be right around 94 daytime high over the weekend, 92 on Monday itself. Temperatures will be in the mid and the upper 70s for morning lows. We'll go over to the East Coast. It's not much of a difference. Now, what I did for Melbourne is instead of repeating everything, each of these statements is true for each day, okay? Overnight storms possible Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Redeveloping showers and storms possible in the afternoon hours, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And heavy rain is possible each of the next 3 days as well. 80% chance tomorrow overall, still 70 on Sunday and Monday. And that is the lowest that I have across our area for the weekend. And on Monday, even in Melbourne, they'll hit around 90 for a daytime high and a very warm start to the day, upper 70s to right around 80 for the morning low. This would of course include places like Satellite Beach in Palm Bay, in Eau Gallie, and Titusville there in Brevard County. Blue Goose is actually hoping for some of this rain. Now look, there is that caveat that goes along with it. Absolutely, some of this rain is beneficial. For the most part, we've gotten rid of any drought or dry conditions in Central Florida. I'm a little hesitant to bring it up because I haven't looked in a while. Now, you guys know I have the drought monitor, right? But it was, okay, it looks like it has updated. For a time, it was having an issue updating. I don't want to get rid of the radar in general, but almost all of our area is out of any kind of even abnormally dry conditions. This is your drought monitor here, right? The yellow areas are abnormally dry. It's the lowest category you can be in if you don't have normal rainfall. You're not in a drought. If you get to this brown, you have the lowest drought index out there, right? But portions of Citrus County, Hernando, and Pasco counties under that slight drought. We have a slight drought back in Brevard County as well. Satellite Beach back down towards Indian River Shores and Indian River County. But, you know, and this little nugget here towards Putnam County. But most of our area has had enough rain in the last month or two to really alleviate the issues that we had as we went through most of spring. So that's good news. And that is an updated index as well. There was just a time that the system wasn't bringing on the newest data, but it has. So there you go. So the green up, so as we go through tornado syndrome, the question is, what does the green upside down triangle thing mean by the villages? So my radar system is using an algorithm to pick up on the individual cells that are developing, right? Anything that is pulsed up a little bit will be indicated by this red circle, right? And it just allows me to look and see what is the development of that. So this particular cell near Reddick right now, and it's not even lightning, it's just a storm developing, west winds, moving west at 258 degrees, so it's basically due west. Storm speed is 20 miles an hour, and what's the maximum reflectivity being produced out of that, right? When you get to the other colors, the triangle is a potential hail producing storm. That's what that means. It doesn't mean hail is present necessarily, but it does mean that there is an opportunity that hail could form out of that cell. So that's what you get there. You get a 20% probability, and then it breaks it down right there in real time. And the polygons, when I have it in this mode, will show you the movement of the cells. And obviously most of them you're going to see to the west. Now, as they're developing, they can be very slow and erratic, and the radar has a hard time picking up on their real forward movement. But you give it a couple of volume scans with the radar, it figures out its movement, and all of these should be pointing more to the west than anything. But that's what that means, right? And there'll be all different kinds of ones. We'll get the TVS, which is the tornado vortex signatures. There's all different variations of that when we get into a tornadic mode. But this allows me to not have to sit here in real time and, you know, try and figure out what each cell is doing. The algorithm is doing that for me. And I also have the ability that when it's really hitting the fan, that I can just say, show me the strongest storm, and it will automatically move the radar in the system to that strongest storm. We can check that out, then we can go to the second strongest storm and down the line if we need to. So it's a great system. There's a couple different ways to do it, but that's the mode that I have it on right now. Where were you where you saw a funnel cloud, Tornado Central? Hey Amber, how you doing? Yeah, so Amber saw some rotation as well. Look, again, don't be scared. Don't be too concerned about it. Again, there's a huge difference, relatively speaking, to what it takes to see a little bit of spin with some of these storms and what it would really take to drop down an actual tornado, right? There's a lot of twist in the atmosphere overall, and there could be some SLCs or some scary looking clouds out there, but you know, the opportunity to really produce a storm that would have a significant tornado of any kind is low today. It's not zero, and I don't want to say let down your guard fully, but you know, the environment is more conducive for extremely heavy rainfall and some gusty winds. Closer to Claremont? Gotcha. Yeah, there will be some twist. Again, I don't want to undercut what you guys are saying, but I'm not going to hype up anything that I don't see. What we really have to watch out for is as these sea breezes begin to merge together, that's when you can really have winds that are all different directions and can produce some tidal rotation at the low levels of the atmosphere. The other thing you would have to watch out for, like yesterday when we were watching the storms moving across Hillsborough Bay and then into Tampa Bay, is that when these storms develop and they move from inland locations to the water, the friction difference, all that bumpiness on the land to these smoother waters, can allow there to be some rotation there. On the East Coast, we see it all the time across the Banana and the Indian rivers, especially in a tropical system. There's inherent rotation with the tropical systems all the time. So you start to see some of those spin-ups developing either off the offshore waters or beginning to move inland. And again, a water spout, all that is a tornado over water. As soon as it moves back inland, it's a tornado. Simple as that. 6 inches of rain too. Wow. There you go. Hey, Charles. Yeah, Charles is right. The Bahamas have been hammered with what we have seen as well. And I will, ooh, that's a nice little shot there from the Tampa radar. I'll cover that over on the Media Mundo channel as well. What are you doing to me? Switch over to level 3 here, see if that pops up. Yeah, all right. Well, the good news is we're not tracking anything right now. But not a fantastic shot here, just some clutter. They'll fix that up in the next volume scan. This is the radar out of the terminal Doppler out of Orlando. Again, it doesn't go nearly as far, but if we wanted to kind of cover, just to show you guys, these are really itty bitty little showers right now. All right, so the last thing I wanted to do here is just pull up the GFS model overall. And again, the GFS model is not nearly as high resolution, even though this is the high resolution product of this 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'll just go out, a couple days. I don't want to get crazy with it or anything. Actually, let me check out something else real quick. I can use this as well. This will just take us out to Sunday night. That's all we really need. Right, again, just to show you that through this time frame, and I'll bring back on the model data as well, just that south flow and that broad spin sitting right over us and the copious amounts of rain. We're going to look at the rainfall potential coming up as well. But it's an unpleasant thought, to just the wet weather, right? Crummy weather, you got weekend plans, you're going to have to deal with this. The isolated flooding threat, could be some urban and low-lying areas that get along with that. So there you go through our Sunday night. Not much of a change in the overall coverage or overall what we've been discussing. So going back over to the HER model in the total precip, and again, this is just going to take us out to Sunday morning, and then we'll pick up the other model after that. Nope, I don't want to loop it. And that's not even the right product anyway. That is. Just want to single frame this. So this is just through Sunday morning. Sunday morning, and let me drop off the tag of the MCO radar. Okay, first of all, you see everyone gets something, right? Now, I don't want you guys to freak out, but some of these totals are quite high. When you get to the grays and these pinks, you're going to get over 5 inches of rain. And I want to be clear. It doesn't mean we're going to get 7 inches in Bellevue and just 2 inches in Eustis. No. But you get the idea of the potential, right? Sumter County, maybe over 8 inches. Orlando, Orlando Metro, I'm going to put more at like 1 to 3 with locally higher amounts. But even the East Coast, a couple of areas. Again, is it going to be virtually dry in Daytona Beach? No. Right? This model's not perfect, but it's trying to give you guys an idea. So you're seeing some 0 to 2 to 3 to 4 inch rainfall totals along the East Coast. You're seeing a few inches of rain in interior locations. And again, let's be clear, this is starting now. not taking into account any rain that's fallen already. This is starting right now through Sunday morning on the HER model. But as I sneak towards the East Coast, you're going to start to see some really, really high rainfall totals. All right. Now look, I've lived in Florida long enough, forecast in Florida long enough, where I can't tell you this isn't going to happen. There was a time, and it was like 2013, maybe even 2014. It was a long time ago, right? Where I just started on the TV side in Orlando, and we had like 3 or 4 inches of rain, but down the East Coast, it was somewhere Port St. Lucie area, somewhere around there, maybe slightly south. They had like 22 inches of rain in the same time frame. So to get these localized areas, which can 2, 3, 4x the rest of the area, is plausible. I've seen it happen before. I want to be clear, I don't expect this to happen in Bradenton and Sarasota County and towards St. Petersburg and places like that, but we have an extremely water-loaded atmosphere, right? It's much more plausible we're in that 2 to 4 with locally higher, but could we set up and train storms that develop one after another over locations, and we start to at least push the higher single-digit rainfall totals over the weekend? Yes. And are these numbers so out of whack that I can fully dismiss them? No. So just be aware of, what a very high resolution granular model is trying to bring to Central Florida. Hey, Kristen, how you doing? It's possible. Again, I hope you guys took exactly what I said to heart, where the model doesn't necessarily know exactly where the heaviest rain is going to fall, but we can look at this as the plausible possibility over the weekend. And there's a lot of high rainfall totals overall. If you do the bell curve, I think the peak is the 2 to 4 inches. I think that's where most of us fall. The highest end of that bell curve could get into that 7, 8+ inch range. It's not out of the question, and there will be a couple of spots that will be drier than that. But I mean, Tornado Central, as an example, overnight in Claremont had 6 inches of rain in one day. And if you remember with Invest, I think it was 93L, Plant City had 10 inches of rain in one day, right? It's a plausible scenario here. Hopefully not going to happen, but there you go. Switch over to the other model just to get an idea. And I haven't looked at this, so this is a completely different model. I'll go out to Sunday night with this one, but you can see that this is a completely different model. But you still have, again, a couple of areas. Now, in this one, right, and this is a perfect example. So Sarasota 5, but Bradenton is more like 2. But there is, and then you've got your 8+ in portions of Pinellas in Hillsborough County. But you get the idea that it's a plausible situation, right? So there you go. That's just what I wanted to point out. And Blue Goose wants some rain in St. Augustine. Well, we're looking at maybe 5 around you if it all plays out here. But look how much rain overall is just situated over the peninsula, right? Real quick look at the tropics. This is moving away. It's not a concern. Invest 96L is struggling a little bit today, actually, and is forecast to have a nice recurve and hopefully even away from Bermuda. So I'm not expecting this to get anywhere near us. We will be quiet at least through the mid part of next week. Now, down the road, we still have to watch these more aggressive tropical waves coming off the West African coast and just the overall development here in the Atlantic Basin. The models, the GFS, the European model, your 2 main global models, are still hinting at towards the end of next week, so next weekend, 8-9 days out, as the beginning time frame to start to see some of this activity more south and west than these recurves, right? So in that 10 to 14 day time frame, as we get towards the latter teens of August and into the beginning, August 20th, 21st, 22nd plays that. That's kind of the time frame that we'll really have to pay a lot more attention to the opportunity for this to get a little bit closer. But both models and all tropical models and all kind of larger scale systems are painting on a much higher chance to get some tropical activity closer to our area here towards the latter half of the month. I think is the easiest way to put that. See if the Tampa radar is cooperating again real fast. You have to turn that off first. Saying appreciates it in certain steps. Oh. Terminal Doppler's like, no, I'm not done with you. I see, I think I actually have to do this too. Yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah, it's back. So just one last look. And again, you guys have any specific questions, let me know. You got it, Charles. I appreciate you. You got it, Amber Sky. My pleasure. All right, so here you go. Again, scattered showers, a rumble of thunder, interior eastern locations, the remainder of the afternoon hours. They'll congregate along the west coast. That's where they could get a little bit stronger the remainder of the afternoon. And overall, we are just in store for an extremely wet and stormy forecast through the remainder of the weekend and even into Monday. Obviously, I'm going to keep a very close eye on these storms for you guys. If it's necessary to come back on and track those, I will do that. If it's a heavy rain situation and we're just getting a little bit of flooding and it's going to be something that's very persistent, I can run our radar system, without me necessarily being on. I've done that from time to time, but again, just to give you guys coverage, we play some beautiful light music. We show our cameras, we show the radar system. It goes into different modes and different areas. So that's another way that we can cover the storms for you if it's going to be kind of more of an all-day thing. But I'll be monitoring the situation here, obviously, very closely. And, again, I only want to be on when there's really impactful weather here, so you guys know to take it seriously. So there's a threshold of that as well. But if we start to see some things get rowdy either later today or sometime over the weekend, I'll be jumping back on and covering those storms for you guys. Obviously, I appreciate all your support. Appreciate those who have found the super thanks and directly supporting the channel in that way. And again, the links in the description below of the video should be working as well. Friends, please remember that CFLW is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida. They're a big partner of the channel. If you want to support someone who supports the channel, you got any kind of storm damage, they'll offer free consultation and policy review. So you got nothing to lose to go check them out. So wind, hail, hurricane damage, go to leanonmelaw.com if you guys would like more information. Appreciate all my friends tuning in for this live stream on this Friday. And again, I'll keep an eye on things. If nothing else, I'll see you guys back Monday at 1 o'clock for the next CFLW The Show. But certainly an opportunity to see you guys between now and then. Thanks for hitting that like button on the way out and subscribing to the channel if you haven't as of yet. Have a great rest of your day. I'm sure I'll see you soon right here at CFLW. You all take care. See you soon. Got congestion.